Hey guys, Mr. Mac here with another art lesson, and today we're going to be making this cool optical illusion. Let's jump into it. I love optical illusions, and I think you're going to enjoy this one if you can stick with it. It takes a little while, probably took me an hour to make this, but it's not too hard. You just got to follow all the steps. Resources are easy. Just need a pencil and a rubber to start with, and a ruler, although you could manage it without a ruler and it would be fine. And then you need a white colour pencil and a black colour pencil, ideally, for doing some shading and highlights. And you will also need some kind of felt tip pen for colouring it in. That said, you could easily colour it in with a colour pencil. Really of any colour as well. I've chosen black because it works well with the highlights and shading that I'm doing anyway, but you could easily modify this to not have to even use a felt tip pen. So we're going to start off choosing a point to be your centre point. I've gone just slightly left of centre, so it's not just completely in the middle. And then we're just going to draw lines from one side of the page to the other through that centre point. Nothing fancy here, we're just trying to keep all those sections about the same sort of size, and we want to end up with an even number of sections if you are able. Doesn't matter too much, but it just helps with the effect at the end. And then we're just going to start drawing some curves. So choose a section to start on, and you're either going to start drawing happy face curves or sad face curves. So choose a section to start with, choose a direction of curve, and try and leave an equal amount of space between each curve, and just fill that section up with curves. Then I would skip one and start on the next section. So skip one, leave one blank, and then do the next one after it, and start doing the same curves at about the same height, because in a second you're going to connect them up with the other direction of curve, so the happy face curve, if you like. You see how I'm just connecting those up so that, well, you'll see why in a little bit. It sort of adds to the 3D effect at the end. So here's the sped up. You can see how it sort of ends up looking a bit like a spider's web. If you end up doing all the curves the same way, it doesn't actually matter that much. It does work best if you can try and keep the curves so that they match up all the way round. So what you could possibly find easier is doing them round in a ring and then do the next ring rather than doing a section at a time. It's sort of up to you. You might find your sections have gone a little bit wonky by the time you match up at the end, but don't worry too much. So with that bit done, we're going to start colouring. I'm going to use black felt tip pen. As mentioned before, you could use a different colour, you could use a colour pencil, doesn't actually matter too much. I like to plan this bit out to make sure that I don't mess it up. I've done several of these in the past where I've just messed it up by colouring in the wrong section. So I'm putting a dot with my pencil in every other section. So it'll end up looking like a chessboard if you do it with black, yeah, black, white alternating. Once you've got them all plotted out, then you can start colouring. So I don't think I need to go into much detail about how to colour something in. I would say drawing a little outline of the shape you're going to colour first is a useful thing to do, because it means that you can then do a quicker shading, colouring action with your pencil or pen. In the middle. It's something I always do, especially when I'm using felt tips. So just take your time around the outside and then quickly colour in the middle. Makes it a little bit easier. Obviously, try not to leave white gaps. You don't really want to see the paper showing if you can help it. You might also want to think about just getting a scrap little bit of paper so that you can rest your wrist on it as you're drawing. Helps stop it smudging, helps stop you spreading that ink all around the table. And you can put it under the paper as well to stop the pen going over the edge when you're colouring at the edges. And then with that done, we're on to highlights. So this is where you're going to need your white pencil and your black pencil. I'm going to start with the white highlights. So they're going to go in the center of all the black sections. Your line is going to go in the same direction that you put your ruler earlier, so as if it's coming out from the middle. Harder in the center, and then you can actually overlap the black a bit here, doesn't matter about being neat because you won't see it on the white paper. And then getting softer as you get away from the center of that section. If that doesn't make sense, just keep watching, you'll see how I do it. The black is then going to be a very similar method, but we're going to come in from the edges. So just watch, you'll see. This bit's quite satisfying to see actually, because you start seeing that 3D effect really start taking shape. Don't forget about the little black triangles in the middle, in the very center. They still need a little thin white highlight down the middle. The highlights obviously get bigger towards the edge of the page as the sections get bigger, more light is hitting them. And then onto the shadows. So as I said before, it's basically the same method but in reverse. So you're pressing hard right at the edge and then softer as you get to the center. Just be careful about how hard you press and how far into the center you go with your shadows. The darker you make this, the less those sort of highlights will show up nicely. So you've got to try and find a balance. Don't go too hard. But yeah, as you start adding these shadows in, just take a step back, because this is where it really starts to pop. There we are, all done. So just that bit of shading and highlighting really made all the difference at the end there. It does take a little while, but stick with it, it's worth it. It does look great. Well, that's it for today. Stay safe, everyone. I'll see you soon.